all you need is a shower. But you see, if you're trying to increase your testosterone with cold and heat exposure, there are a few things you absolutely need to know. Because heat can actually decrease testosterone, as it has been shown, and it can also kill your sperm, making you less fertile. Now you're probably wondering, how the hell does a cold shower increase my testosterone? Well, you need to understand a few things. First is that whenever you increase your dopamine levels, you increase your testosterone levels. And also, when you do a cold exposure, like a cold shower, for a certain amount of time and at a certain heat, you can actually increase dopamine levels above baseline for more than 6 hours. Basically meaning a 6-hour increase in testosterone levels during your day. But you see, the research behind cold showers is actually extremely recent. It's only after Wim Hof, also known as the Iceman, started doing cold exposure and saying it was changing his life, that scientists actually started making research on cold exposure. And they basically found a few things. The first one is that you need to put the heat to the max cold. You absolutely, but absolutely don't want to start hot and slowly work your way to the cold. That's you avoiding the thermal shock. What we want is for you to get into that fight or flight mode. That's where your dopamine levels actually start increasing. Now, if you're wondering as to how long you should stay in the cold shower, well, a minimum of 30 seconds if you want to get all the benefits. But notice how the title of this video is cold and heat exposure. Basically, yes, you can just take a straight cold shower, and I love to do that. But currently I'm kind of sick, so what I actually love doing the most is either starting on heat or on cold, but you can decide if you want to end on heat and on cold. So today I'm gonna start on heat, go to the cold, and I'm gonna end on the heat. And I'm gonna explain why you should not actually end on the heat, why you should always try to end on the cold.
Basically, when you end on the heat, you're skipping cold gains. You're basically becoming less resilient to the cold. Compare that if you ended on the cold, that would allow you to become stronger next time you step out of a cold shower. Therefore, it's more beneficial to end on the cold. And also, it has been shown that ending on the cold might lead to a stronger dopamine increase that lasts longer.
Alright, now my body is warm. I'm gonna put the heat to the max cold, and I'm gonna aim for more than 30 seconds on the max cold, trying to get into that fight or flight state and increase my dopamine, therefore increasing my testosterone. I'm waiting for the water to get as cold as possible, and I'm jumping straight into it.
As you can see, mustering the courage or the willpower to get into that cold shower can be quite difficult. And I've been taking cold showers daily for more than a year now, and it's still as hard as in the beginning. So I really understand that starting this new habit might really be hard. So just remember the feeling you get after stepping out of that cold shower, that surge in energy, that increase in testosterone that you feel deeply. After roughly 1 minute under the max cold, I decided that it was better for me if I put the heat back up, because I basically don't want my body to warm up just by itself. I think that's too much stress when you're currently having a cold. Therefore, I decided to skip on some cold gains by heating myself back up with a hot shower. But when you do any sort of heat exposure, whether that's a sauna, a hot bath, or a hot shower, you want to make sure that your balls don't get too hot. Basically, heat exposure can make you less fertile and reduce your testosterone levels.
That's why it's absolutely crucial that you don't heat up your balls too much. Now, basically, the only part of your body you need to be wary of is your balls. Now, why do I got an ice pack? People that go into saunas and that want to stay fertile and don't want to decrease their testosterone, they bring ice packs and they put it in their underwear on their balls. I'm joking, but of course we're not gonna use an ice pack when we got a cold shower. So what I like to do is basically When I take a hot shower, I try to not have too much of the hot water on my balls. And when I do want to stop my cold and heat exposure on the heat, what I do is I always put the heat to the max cold and just put my balls under there.
And that's exactly what I'm doing here at the end. I always like to just end on cold on my balls. I feel like that's the thing that increases the testosterone the most. Even though there's like no science backing this up, I just feel great after cooling my balls like that.
Now there are basically 4 forms of heat and cold exposure you can do in your shower. The first one is a straight cold exposure. And that's my favorite one. You get into the cold shower and you let your body warm up by itself. The second one is you start on the heat, so it makes it much easier to jump into the cold shower. Because doing cold shower when you're already cold is so annoying and painful, and it's going to require much more discipline, which is why I honestly prefer the first option. But the third option is when you start alternating. You start on heat or on cold, and then you decide, am I gonna end on heat or am I gonna end on cold? So that'd be the third form, where you alternate, but you do end on cold. Which honestly, that is the most powerful way to do a cold and heat exposure if you're trying to increase your testosterone levels. And the fourth one would be you alternate, but you end on the heat. That's basically what I did today. This was a short video. I hope it taught you something. I hope you're gonna start doing cold and heat exposure, because honestly, it's a nice little tool to increase your testosterone levels. And now that you know that testosterone is correlated with dopamine, don't fry your dopamine receptors. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Mwah.